What's up everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Shady 80. I'm here working on a public holiday because that is just what we do lately. But anyway, I just got the rad back in. I got the fan mounts sorted, which I'll show you in a minute, but I pulled the fans off to put the rad in, to start having a look at the rad hoses. Now Mark's instructions for wood dries for this conversion, they actually say that they reckon the standard bottom rad hose fits with a little bit of trimming, which would be this one here, which as you can see, if I can point the GoPro there, put that on there for illustrative purposes, but as you can see, that is just not right at all. So there you go guys, this is from Mark's, just a VE Commodore V8 top hose, and it fits up in there, it's meant to. Seems a bit big. Yeah, it's not looking like it's gonna fit the greatest either, to be honest. It's also the wrong size for that outlet, it's not super nice. All right, hold up guys, just found this one in the box as well. So this is a standard FZJ 105 bottom rad hose, which makes a lot more sense. So I can see how they mean the standard rad hose should fit. Obviously it's for if you're doing a 105, which considering this is an 80, they've supplied the kit, the right one. So yeah, that will fit fine with a bit of trimming. So that's all good. So that gets us out of trouble with the bottom hose, means you don't have to worry about a billet, thermostat housing or anything like that. But, yeah, I'll keep this in the kit. I suppose we could probably just cut and shorten it and join it in the center. We'll put one of those temperature probe insert things for the top hose in there and shorten it, and we'll use that to actually route the steam port from the LS into there, and that'll work fine. So that's what we will do instead. I think we should have one in stock here. There is already this little port on the top of the rad tank, which you probably could use for that. But seeing as we need to cut and shorten that anyway, we need to put a joiner in, may as well use one of them as a joiner, do it that way. It's a lot cheaper than us fabricating an alley one, as much as it's probably not going to be as nice. All right, so that's fans in. That's how they mount, these little tabs. Perfect. Still got to paint these up obviously, but as you can see, fans are in. And as you can see, heaps of bloody room there in front of them. So that's all happy days. Alrighty, so there's our intake manifold on just for illustrative purposes, but as you can see what we talked about from the last episode about using that bit of oval pipe as a bit of an intake into the custom airbox which will be there, which we're still waiting to arrive, but there's going to be plenty of room sort of to actually make that all happen. So I think that is probably going to be the way we'll try and go, because yeah, if we can leave this up here, it does solve more than one issue for both us and the owner with the car in general, so that would be awesome. And you know, as we talked about, aspirated LS, a 3.5 inch intake is plenty, that's heaps. So not going to be an issue if we can make it happen. So that's sick. So the next thing is to actually work out exactly what fittings we need to make a new high pressure power steering line for this thing, considering the kit didn't come with one. So we'll have to make one of those, so we'll work those out so I can order them tomorrow. Obviously I can't order them today because it's public holiday, so that doesn't really matter to us today. All right guys, so I'm finally getting a minute to actually look at this freaking car again. It has been a rough, yeah, I suppose the last fortnight's been rough. I'm sick again. It's, that's doing my head in, but anyway. As you saw, airbox arrived, which is awesome. It's going to fit where I thought it was going to fit. Absolutely freaking wicked. It's going to be so good. Basically I just got to get an adapter for the snorkel into the airbox, but the actual size, physical size, and the way the lid can orientate, everything's going to work exactly as I expected it to when I ordered it. So you know, you got to have a win every now and then, so that's awesome. Firstly, before we mount that in there, there's a lot of that wiring over in that corner, the existing wiring in the car. It's going to have to be tidied up a bit, so really am dreading that part of this job. Not too worried about the conversion wiring. I think it's going to be gravy, but the existing wiring in the car has just been, it's just one of those things, you know, it's an older car, things just get added on and added on and added on and added on and wired in and wired in and wired in, and you just end up with so much wiring, which I think I went through in like the first or second episode of this thing about how I want to tidy that up. So, but anyway, the fact is, airbox is going to work, it's going to be great. So I thought we might try and get this exhaust on the car, at least back to where I want it finished. Gets one big box out of the way, gets another job out of the way, and
yeah, then we'll actually be able to see what we need to get as far as the stainless goes. So Ben Brothers is expecting a shipment of stainless in this week. So we should have the stainless to finish this exhaust towards the end of the week and keep this thing on its merry way. So yeah. So not only that, in the meantime, our alt bracket, they replaced the one that's actually on the motor, arrived, which is sweet. Our accelerator pedal has arrived, which is also freaking awesome. As well as the owner actually got onto a bloke in WA who also has a YouTube channel, I believe, who actually makes like laser cut and folded and welded up accelerator pedal brackets for these things, for doing these conversions, for putting the fly-by-wire pedal in the 80. I'm not sure where it ended up, it'll be around here somewhere, but I'll find out exactly who that is and find out the bracket, because it's a really nice looking bit of gear, and I would like to promote his YouTube and business for anyone else who may be doing this conversion, because that obviously saves heaps of screwing around if you can get a pedal bracket. It's just one of those little parts that's a real pain to make, and being able to find one that's just made ready to go just saves so much time.
Alright guys, there you go. So that's all I needed from that big box. It was literally just that little section that goes over the diff and out the tail. So that's a full mandrel 3-inch. As you can see, there's no mufflers in that section. I also ordered the muffler midsection, which is why I don't need the midsection out of this box, which is this one here. So I'll show you that. It's got a little resonator in it. So that's our resonator section, which goes next on the front here, which is just in here, this section. And then hopefully where it pretty much ends is where we're hoping to make the merge and then bring obviously this side from over the top and this side from up the top over there. So the owner said he wanted it rowdy. He specifically wants it to sound pretty tough, which if it's just that resonator in it, and then obviously each of the two pipes have a cat straight off it. So there'll be two cats, one on each side, and then after it merges, go through that resonator, and then single 3-inch all the way back. With this cam, this thing is going to sound pretty wild, pretty staunch. It's going to sound wicked, but just in case, in the event that it's still too loud with that one resonator, I did buy this one as well, just in case, which I figure if that one's if it's still too loud just after those, that one can go right at the back here. It should fit in this section here, right at the back before the dump there. So yeah, in the event that he wants it a bit quieter, we've got that one there just in case we can chuck in. But yeah, apart from that, that is the exhaust. So something like that, guys. But even just having this last section, all this over the diff and stuff, like say if the original plan to build that out at twin 2.5, just straight up this section of exhaust has saved us at least probably 2 days of labor, not to mention the material. So huge saving, and as we talked about, single 3-inch is going to be fine. I'm thinking might have to just lop this flange off and cut it back to like here, just looking at where it's got to come over the top of there. I think this is going to be maybe a bit too far forward, but anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But at least now I can get a pretty good idea of what's going to be going on here as far as the material. I don't know if I actually spoke about it either, but obviously with the tail shaft, there is hardly any engagement we're losing on the splines, so no need for the tail shaft spacer. This is just going to work fine in the guise that it is, and this is obviously at full droop on the hoist, so it's never going to get any further than that for the tail shaft. So heaps of engagement, not worried about that at all. So it's all well and good. It's also not in there permanently yet. I want to be able to remove this while we do this fabrication, but sort of need to be able to get it in and out pretty easily to be able to do it properly. So anyway, I'm just going to sit up there for now, pretty much with one bolt in each end. But yeah, happy days. That's what we're looking at for our exhaust, and get some more stuff together for the rest of it. Righto guys, back onto the big 80, Shady 80 here. We've got the man himself, RazFab, out here giving us a hand. So this is Dan, he's RazFab, as you can see on the shirt. So Dan does a lot of his own fabrication from home, and you know, we have that much freaking work on at the moment. I sort of just asked Dan if he would like to come out and do some work for us and help out, and here he is. So he's on to getting this exhaust fitted up, bloody minty. So that's freaking awesome. It's going to help us out a heap. So big thanks to Dan, and yeah, we'll keep cracking along with this thing and hopefully get some more progress happening in the in the day. So Dan's already cut the 4-bolt flange off the end of the mid muffler, and we're going to our V-band. And then yeah, like we talked about, that's where it's gonna then go into the merge, which is gonna split into the 2.5. So I purchased heap of 2.5 stuff from Dave at Ben Brothers the other day. So huge thanks to Ben Brothers for always supplying us with the best material. But the 2 flanges that I bought, I just bought 2.5 inch 2-butt flanges. Not the right size for what we need, unfortunately, which is a pain. But Rex went and had a look in the flange van, and he did find 2 flanges that are going to work. They're literally the only 2 we've got, but they are mild steel, so might be a bit of a pain. But either way, they're just a weird size flange. Like they are, it's 2.5 inch pipe, but they're very small flanges. So anyway, it is what it is. It's still going to work. They will do the job. So they'll have to go onto the 2.5 inch sections. But yeah, it's all going to work out fine. Woo, look at that.
Good eye, mate.
Good eye. Bit of a merge.
One merge.
One merge.
Yeah,
Just got to squish up a 3 inch and glue it together.
Yep, we'll get there.
Look at that. Yep, 3 to oval adapter, homemade, home job.
Let's go.
Ooh, yeah. All right, she is coming along a treat. Look at this merge Dan made. Check it out. Yep. It's bloody great, mate. How nice. So anyway,
Slowly.
that's where our 2.5s come into our 3 inch, into our existing, like we talked about. We're going to have a 2.5 V-band on that, and then there's another 2.5 V-band that's going to be just on the end of this cat. So this section with the merge is fairly easy to get in and out, and obviously you couldn't fit a cat up through that gap. It's very, very tight. So then you got the cat on this front section, which is literally just that flange back to that V-band. So it's pretty short.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll work good.
And then 90 and 45, roll it down to the where the cat and whatnot will be, and yeah, should be
happy days. That's our twin 2.5 merged into a 3. And basically, you know, if the owner ever does decide he wants to bolt a supercharger or anything to this thing, you know, it is 2 and 2.5 back to here. You'd pretty much just have to modify probably from here back to go to twin 2.5, or modify this to go to a single 3.5 if you wanted to make some serious power or some forced induction. But like we talked about, the single 3, while it's aspirated, is going to be more than enough. So yeah, this is all coming along really, really well. Really awesome. And it's all happy days. Mick loving it.
you.
All right, guys, it's been a big day, but we've sort of got one side all tacked up, down pat with clamps down to this merge, which is freaking, it's all looking wicked. Absolutely stoked with it. So basically all that's left to do is the other side back up to the manifolds and then weld it all out, but it's looking mint. Stoked with that merge that came together so nice. Oh, it looks so good. And Dan can get the colours. I reckon that's a lot to do with that pulse, getting the right colours. Yeah,
and the gas. A lot of gas.
Yeah,
well, not a lot of gas.
We've done a lot with our gas, but ours, mine do. I won't speak for Rex, but mine still come out fairly grey, like they're too hot.
Yeah.
But like obviously with the pulse, it gives it that little bit of time to cool.
Yeah, it's
well,
it's
like
definitely
that.
a nice feature.
The merge, the
it
merge
looks,
for
it all looks so nice.
like the dump pipe for the patrol, and that stuff's actually coming a lot better since we learned that, and I turned the amps down a lot.
Yeah.
Has helped heaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you can see, it's very squishy, like 2.5 between the chassis rail, the tail shaft, trying to get the cat in there. Not only that, but even just getting down between the chassis rail and the transfer case and stuff. She's a bit of a tight squeeze, so it's like threading a needle, that one. So yeah, pretty difficult. This side, a lot more room on this side. Obviously up here, as you've seen from previous episodes, we've got a few squishy things to work around with as far as room right at the top. But once we get,
it's crazy how tight that is on that.
yeah, it is. It's pretty wild. But once we get past this sway bar, after that, it's actually fairly roomy to get back up to the V-band back here. So it's all coming along awesome. And this piece, you could easily get this in and out of the car with no jacks or anything. This drops in and out of the car easily on the ground. And yeah, this, you just undo it, rotate the V-band around the transfer case, and out it comes. So yeah, well thought out by Dan again, with making sure everything is easy to work on, which is what we like around here. So Stoked with it.
Easy.
But anyway, time to call it a day. It's getting late, mate.
Cheers.
Oh,
A little drive home.
yeah, you got a long drive home.
Hour and 45 minutes.
Well,
Gravy.
appreciate all your work today, mate. It's awesome. We'll get stuck back into it Monday and finish her off. Righto, guys. It's Monday. It's Labor Day. It's actually a nice day for once in ages, which is awesome. And Big Raz back out here, working on Labor Day. What a bloke. So, got this exhaust to finish off, obviously. And then, yeah, we'll start looking at the intake, what we can do with the intake. But yeah, just welding this piece out, which is coming along freaking awesome. I'm so stoked with that merge. But that's like I suppose the most time consuming stuff. Things like that merge are already done. So it's, yeah, this thing's gonna be coming together pretty quick. Oh, look at that. Another bloody nice piece. Whoa. So yeah, Dan decided to put a flexi in it, just for protection against vibration and cracking and expansion because of heat and everything else. So yeah, bloody looks awesome. Last weld on the cat.
Let's go.
Here you go. Gotta get the lighting.
Nah. We'll wax and grease that.
Wax and grease it. Let the door up and get that lighting happening. How good. Whoa, look at that. She's gonna sound rowdy. Easy to work on, easy fit up.
Plenty of room.
Oh yeah. Looks absolutely amazing. So we talked about not too worried about replacing the heat shield on this side that Mark's gave you for these lines, because the exhaust has ended up quite a long way away from them. I don't think those lines are really going to be very affected by the heat at all with that much air gap. Like there's a lot of air gap there, but where the clutch slave is on the side of the box, thinking about doing similar to the sort of heat shields that we made for the patrol behind me here, just those perforated heat shields that we can actually bolt to the exhaust using some tube nuts to weld on, just to protect the clutch slave, which is up there. You can see above there. So that clutch slave, it's a little bit closer than those lines are to that exhaust, and obviously being a clutch slave, the fluid in it's not always circulating. It actually sort of sits in the end of the clutch slave. So ironically, Marks don't actually give you any sort of heat shield to protect that slave. So that's the irony of the setup, is that we're going to make a heat shield for something that they didn't give us anything to shield for, and we're not going to use or bother trying to shield the things that they actually did supply one for, which didn't end up fitting very well. So anyway, that's just how cooks crumbles, I suppose, sometimes. Obviously they, in their development of their kit, whatever car they were using, the heat shields worked really well for them, but this particular instance with Dan's handiwork on this exhaust, which just looks so bloody good. Amazing. Yeah, not really going to work in our instance, but pretty keen to hear how this thing sounds. So at this point, we're just going to get it all back in, try and find where we're going to want the O2 ports for the O2 sensors in front of the cats, and just sort of figure out where it's going to be best as far as serviceability and being able to get to them and being protected, and where we can run the wiring. And we'll whack a couple of O2 bungs in it, and then it's done. That's the exhaust for this thing sorted. So absolutely wrapped with Dan's work. Looks amazing. So we're now on to looking at this airbox setup and what we can do with it. So we were sort of playing around with trying to put it right where the snorkel comes in, where I'd originally talked about it, pretty much where the stock one goes. And I don't know if you remember from previous clips in this, but right here was the washer bottle setup that they'd made, which sort of offsets a bit, so they allowed for some wiring to come through here in this channel. Honestly, the way that it was mounted was a real pain. It took a very long time to get out. But we figured that was the only thing stopping us from actually moving the airbox up further towards the brake master, which would sort of allow a few advantages. The biggest thing was obviously the height of the lid, and then the transition into try and get the intake through this area. And I was looking at the underside of the bonnet. It does look like there's a ridge that runs pretty much directly off the corner of this battery tray. So that's going to be a bit of a low point on the bonnet. And just, yeah, the way trying to get the box to orientate and work and do everything, it was starting to get pretty tight and pretty hard to sort of work. So we figured if we move that, we could just try and move the box up a bit further towards the brake master, Hopefully still mount it low enough out here, but just give us a little bit more room for this transition. And obviously going to the snorkel, that's just sort of a silicon bend reducer and stuff anyway. I can make that work however it has to work. So, and then of course with the washer bottle, we can almost just get a generic one, or Dan can make a new one, and we can maybe mount it down on the back of this battery tray or something, or find somewhere else for that. There's not really any necessary spot for that to go. It can really just go wherever it's going to fit. So we'll have a look at how this can go, and hopefully figure out a way that's going to work all the way around. Obviously moving it up the guard, it gets higher, but also so does the bonnet line. So we'll just have a look. Righto, so this is what we've come up with in the end, and that's where it mounts, and that washer bottle would have been in the way of where it is at the moment. But that shoots that lid directly at the gap we need to be aiming for. And as you can see, it's not actually mounted straight. It is a little bit on the piss. And we debated, we screwed around with it for a while trying to get it up straight. But just, it was the height of the lid and the angle that everything was going to be with the ridges in the bonnet right off the back of the battery. There were so many things going against this, trying to get this to mount straight. And at the end, there was no real reason except for aesthetics to mount it straight up and down. There are advantages to mounting it this way, aside from obviously it working a lot better for our application, but also we now have a low side where we can actually put a drain, like a valve, a drain in for water, because this obviously, as I talked about at the start of this build, the owner of this car does actually do some fairly serious forward driving, so it is going to be a completely sealed intake setup that can be used for some water stuff if he has to. So it is going to be sealed, and there will be a drain for water, and now there's a low side for that. Keeps it all easily under bonnet, and all of the angles of everything are actually going to work really well. So it's a bit annoying that it doesn't look perfect, but at the same time, for the price of a generic airbox kit that once mounted in is going to work really well for this setup, not going to be a restriction. It's cost for the result is still going to be the best outcome that we could probably have. Short of actually just having someone like Dan here make a whole new airbox, there's not really much, a whole heap of other options to work around what we have to work around. And obviously paying someone to build a custom bespoke airbox is huge dollars in labor just in the time that it takes to do so. But yeah, pretty stoked with this. So that will come into a transition into our 3.5 oval. This is obviously just some pieces we were using for measurements and clearancing. That's our transition. That's the guy there. So we'll have one on the end of this intake and one that goes on a silicon joint to the airbox there. And they'll be sort of just pie cutted to get our angles and get everything right. So it's going to be a pretty
unique.
Yeah,
unique.
Intricate.
Yes.
Unique and intricate piece, which is obviously, right as you pop the bonnet right in your face, it's going to look really nice. It's going to actually be really, really cool when it's done. So that's the plan for the intake. And then I'll worry about now having this mounted in a final position. I've got to try and figure out what I'm going to do for the actual silicon joiner to the snorkel. And then that'll be our aircon intake. That'll be our intake setup. And then I'll just look at what I can get as far as just a generic washer bottle kit to mount somewhere else, and it'll be all happy days from there. And it'll be pretty tough looking under bonnet setup. It's gonna be good. Righto guys, it's 20 to 6. Dan's just left. Unfortunately didn't get as far as getting the actual intake pipe work done, but did get the pie cut sort of made, and Dan got most of it tacked together. He was sort of debating on whether to just sort of power on and try and get it done, but it was going to be just too much time. That was at like 5:30 before he started packing up. It was going to be just too much time, and it's Monday afternoon on 5 o'clock before he started packing up. Sorry is what I meant to say, but it's Monday afternoon on Labor Day long weekend, so I've got a feeling he's got a fairly long drive home, and it's probably going to be a fair bit of traffic and stuff now as well. So we thought he better not stay in power on because it'd be just way too late. It's going to be too big of a day for him, but hugely appreciate Dan's help in getting this sorted. His exhaust, it looks absolutely mint. I can't wait to hear this thing with this cam. We'll get this intake work sorted out. Still a huge chunk of progress as far as just getting the airbox mounted and stuff like that, and getting this to where it is. There's not a lot more to do, just finish tacking that up and then getting it welded out. And then it's on to start figuring out the wiring, getting it sorted. And like I keep saying, the biggest
probably the biggest thing at the moment is sorting out the wiring that's already in the car that really needs to be tidied up and it needs to be fixed in some way, which it's frustrating. And it's another one of those things that I always say to people when they ask me about conversions is that we can never give quotes. And this is a perfect example of why we can never give like a proper quote for a conversion, because you never know what you're going to find. And things like this is a prime example where, you know, we don't particularly have to. We could just leave this and just be like, it's not our problem. But, you know, then it looks like it's part of the conversion. It looks like it's our work. Then next thing, the thing has wiring issues and it comes back here and we've got to sort it out anyway. You know, it's one of those things that we can't just leave it. You can't. So anyway, that's a prime example anyway for anyone that asks us about pricing, is that we always give estimates, but never full-on quotes for this really custom work, because it's just impossible to do it. But anyway, this thing is coming along awesome. This thing's going to be freaking wicked when it's done. This is going to look great when it's welded out. Hopefully if I end up doing it, I do a good job and do Dan's work justice. But anyway, stoked with it. Stoked with the progress that we've made over the weekend. It's been awesome. Yeah, huge big leap forward. So cracking along with this thing, which is awesome. So anyway, I think that's going to pretty much do it for an episode. So I hope you're enjoying the Shady 80. She's going to be, she's going to sound the part when it's done. It's going to look big and tough, and it's going to sound bigger and tougher. It's going to be great. So looking forward to it. Thanks for watching as always, guys. Smash like, smash subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out. See you. Bye.